There's a truth most men never realize until it's too late. She needs you more than you think. Not in a material way, not because of what you buy or what you say, but because you hold something far rarer, emotional gravity. In every relationship, there's an invisible current, a silent power dynamic constantly shifting between masculine and feminine energy. And when you understand that dynamic, you stop chasing, stop proving, and start leading. This is not about control, it's about centeredness, because the man who remains unmoved, calm in chaos, still in storms, becomes the axis around which everything revolves. It might look like women have all the power. They get attention, validation, options, and you think you're the one who has to prove yourself. But here's the truth. Attention is not power. Attachment is. She might have 10 men liking her photos, but she only obsesses over the one man who doesn't. She might have a dozen options, but only one who makes her feel something real. And that man is not the one chasing her. He's the one she can't figure out. The one who doesn't need to be seen. The one who doesn't react to her silence. The one whose validation she can't easily earn. When you don't compete for her attention, she subconsciously starts to compete for your presence. That's the real power. And it begins when you stop giving away your energy so cheaply. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Be like the rock that the waves keep crashing over. It stands unmoved, and the raging of the sea falls still around it." That is the essence of masculine energy, stillness, presence, calm. In relationships, women test your stability. They push buttons, withdraw, go silent, not because they hate you, but because they need to feel your center. They need to know you're not emotionally fragile. The moment you chase, argue, or over-explain, you prove that you've lost your grounding. You show that her behavior controls you. But when you stay still, when you let silence speak, you remind her that your worth doesn't rise or fall based on her mood. That's when she feels drawn back to you, not because of what you say, but because of what she feels in your presence. Safety, depth, and self-mastery. Every relationship operates like an emotional economy. There are investors and there are spenders. The one who invests less often holds more power, not because they're cold, but because they're disciplined with their attention. When a man gives too much too early, too eagerly, he floods the market. His affection loses value. But when a man gives from a place of self-respect, when his attention must be earned, it becomes a currency of value. She senses it. She craves it. She respects it. Women are not drawn to abundance of attention. They're drawn to the quality of it. They want a man whose time, energy, and presence means something. And that happens only when you stop giving what's not appreciated. Here's the paradox. She seems strong and independent, yet her emotions often spiral when your energy shifts. That's not weakness, that's polarity. The feminine draws strength from the masculine frame, your composure, your focus, your calm direction. When you lose that frame, she loses her grounding too. That's why she tests you. That's why she sometimes withdraws or argues. It's her way of checking if you're still anchored. When you remain centered, you remind her of stability. When you react, you remind her of chaos. She's not trying to break you, she's trying to trust you. And she can only trust a man who doesn't flinch under emotional pressure. Absence is a silent teacher. It's not cruelty, it's clarity. When you step back, she finally feels what your presence meant. Presence taken for granted must sometimes be withdrawn to be appreciated. You don't withdraw to manipulate her. You withdraw to recalibrate yourself. When you walk away, you give her space to realize the weight of your energy. Your silence echoes louder than your words ever could. In that silence, she remembers the safety of your voice, the steadiness of your energy, the warmth of your attention. That's when she feels the imbalance, the void that no one else can fill. Because deep down, she doesn't crave a crowd of admirers. She craves the calm of one strong man. Abundance is overrated. Scarcity creates meaning. When you're always available, always responding, always proving, she stops valuing your presence. Because what's easily accessed rarely feels precious. When you pull back, when you give her time to miss you, she starts to feel your absence in her emotions. She begins to chase the feeling that only you can provide. This isn't a game, it's emotional economics. Men chase physical connection, women chase emotional resonance. And when your energy becomes scarce, her emotions become activated. She starts replaying memories, wondering what changed, and craving the balance that only your presence once provided. That's the real power dynamic. She feels it even when you're gone. You can't talk your way into a woman's soul. You can only vibrate your way there. Your tone, your stillness, your boundaries. These communicate louder than words ever could. Women feel energy. They sense when a man is grounded versus when he's desperate for approval. And no matter how charming your words are, if your energy is needy, she'll withdraw. But when your energy is self-contained, silent, confident, she can't resist it, because that's what the feminine truly desires. A man whose energy can hold hers. So stop trying to convince her with explanations. Start convincing her with your silence. There's a difference between being cold and being centered. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you refuse to lose yourself. The Stoics taught, control what you can, let go of what you can't. In relationships, that means you show love without expecting validation in return. You give, not to get, but because it's who you are. You walk away, not out of anger, but out of self-respect. That's real masculine maturity. And it's that quiet emotional independence that draws women deeper, because she feels safe in the presence of a man who cannot be shaken. When she's emotional, she doesn't need advice. She needs your stillness. Your calm energy regulates hers. Your silence gives her space to breathe. You often notice that when you pull away from chaos and stop reacting, she softens, because your emotional composure becomes her anchor. So never underestimate the power of presence without words. That's what she needs most, even when she doesn't say it. Reaction is emotional surrender. Every time you react impulsively, defend, argue, explain, you give your power away. The man who can remain silent in misunderstanding, calm in conflict, and composed in confusion becomes untouchable, because the real battle is never between two people. It's between your ego and your discipline. When you master the urge to react, you master yourself. And once you master yourself, no one, not even the woman you love, can control your peace. That's when she feels your strength the most. That's when she realizes she needs you, not because you dominate, but because you don't crumble. Respect is not something you demand. It's something you command through behavior. When you stop begging for attention, when you start living with purpose, when you stop chasing, her respect returns. Women may love you for your affection, but they only respect you for your discipline. And once she respects you again, attraction naturally follows, because respect is the root of emotional connection. A man who respects himself teaches others how to treat him. And in relationships, that quiet self-respect becomes your ultimate power. Your withdrawal is a mirror. When she no longer has your constant reassurance, she faces her own emotions. That discomfort she feels, that confusion, that longing, isn't weakness. It's reflection. She realizes how your calm once balanced her storms. She starts to see that your silence wasn't indifference, it was mastery. And that's when her respect deepens, because she finally understands you weren't trying to win her. You were trying to remain yourself. A woman can change moods like weather, but your role isn't to chase every cloud. Your role is to remain the sky, vast, unmoved, and the feminine is fluid. The masculine is structure. She is movement. You are direction. Without your frame, her energy feels scattered. Without her movement, your life feels static. But when both play their roles, when she dances within your calm, the relationship becomes harmony, not chaos. That's the balance of polarity. That's where real attraction is born. Control is external. Leadership is internal. You don't lead her by commanding. You lead her by embodying calm strength. When you hold yourself to a higher standard, she rises too. When you stay composed, she feels safe. When you move with purpose, she feels inspired. That's masculine leadership, not by words, but by presence. She follows your emotional lead, even if she pretends not to, because deep down she craves that steadiness more than anything else. At the end of every argument, every silence, every test, the question is simple: did you keep your peace? If you did, you won, not over her, but over yourself. That's the ultimate Stoic victory. Mastering the only thing you can control, your own mind. Because in relationships, the man who stays calm always ends up with the real power, not because he manipulated, but because he never needed control to feel whole. She feels that difference. She respects it. She's drawn to it, because she doesn't truly want to lead. She wants to trust, and she can only trust a man who trusts himself. She may never say it aloud. She may act distant, independent, and self-sufficient, but in the quiet moments, when her world feels unstable, it's your presence she thinks of. She needs your calm, your steadiness, your silent strength. She needs you far more than you think. The real power dynamic in relationships isn't about dominance, it's about energy alignment. The feminine follows emotion, the masculine follows purpose. When you lead with discipline and stillness, she naturally returns to your orbit. So don't chase, don't explain, don't beg, just rise, be still, be unshakable. Because when you master your energy, she'll feel it in her soul, and that's when the balance shifts back in your favor. Not because you took power from her, but because you reclaimed it within yourself. That's the real power dynamic. That's Stoic masculinity.